Hello, I'm Caleb Colley, pulpit minister here at Lakeside. Thank you for joining us for this live stream. By tuning into this broadcast, you demonstrate your interest in New Testament Christianity, and we're so thankful for that. Perhaps you're considering Lakeside as a possible church home for you and your family. If so, this broadcast is for you. If you'd like to continue your study of New Testament Christianity, then join us for one of our worship services or Bible classes, or email me at calebcolley@lakesidechurchofchrist.com. The live stream is also designed for the benefit of our members who can't be with us due to illness. We are praying for your speedy recovery and return. Please let us know if we can do anything for you. The live stream is not designed to replace God's plan for the assembly of the church. Now open your Bible and let's begin.
Scripture reading this afternoon will come from Matthew chapter 22, verse 36 through 40. Matthew chapter 22, verse 36 through 40. Master, which is the great commandments in this law? Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and greatest commandment, and the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets.
Good afternoon. Before we get started, I was just going to kind of go over a little bit of what happened yesterday. If you were here, you got to see we did Bible Bowl. Bible Bowl happened, sorry about that, up here at the church yesterday afternoon. We had 78 kids, I think almost 80 kids participate, ranging in ages from 4th grade up to seniors in high school. Had a great afternoon. All the kids did really well. We talk about announcing it. It's not about winning and all of those types of things. It's about the studying and the learning, and they did. They dove into books. We've been studying. They've had classes. Darren Bruce has led the teens in classes for, I think, the past few months. Whether you participated in Bible Bowl yesterday or you didn't, you still sat in that class and studied and learned. And if you did compete yesterday, we had some results that were impressive for Lakeside. I went back and looked at the trophy, and I hadn't paid attention to the trophy because we haven't done well. Who wants to look at something that you haven't done well? It's like me and a scale. I don't want to go look at a scale right now. But I went back and I took a view at the trophy, and I noticed that we have not done well at Bible Bowl since 1996. I think is the last year Lakeside has had a winning team that was comprised of Lakeside-only individuals. We won last year with 2 from Lakeside and 2 from West Gannett. And not to discount that, but I'm not counting it. But this year we won Bible Bowl with 4 kids from Lakeside. I know the time they put in, the study they did outside of class was impressive. And those 4 young men put in a lot of time. Not saying they put in more time than the other kids, but just they came out on top this year. And it's been a while since Lakeside. I know we got up here for a few years and would announce Lakeside, and I think we would be in the bottom 3, and those types of things. There wasn't the enthusiasm that seemed to build this year. But with 80 kids, we had 2 junior teams, and junior teams are teams that range in age of 4th grade to 6th grade. We had 2 of those teams. We had, this is by memory, and I'm bad at memory, but we had 4 kids, I think, finish in the top 10 individually in Junior Bible Bowl. Madison, we had Ashley, Parker, and Becca. Did I miss anyone? Is those the 4? Okay, good. Then I got those 4. Then we moved to the senior, and then in that one we had a team finish in 2nd place. One of our teams, 2nd place overall Junior Bible Bowl, which was great. And then we had 4 teams in Senior Bible Bowl, and we had, I'm not going to do well at this. The senior was more difficult for me to keep up, but I know Jennifer Dasher finished in the top 10. Aiden, Easton, Carson, Luke, Cameron. Anyone else? Oh, man. Did it. So they all finished in the top 10 individually in scores. And then the group of Luke, Cameron, Carson, and Robert Holofield won last year. And even more impressive than that is, one of our young men set out a goal. And he said, this year I am going to do better than I did last year. And he marked that doing better than I did last year because he lost to someone by 1 point. I think it was 1 question. Am I right? 1 question. This year he set out the goal. Luke Burrows overall got the most questions right. I think the reason, he wanted to beat his brother. He said, this is the last year, Cameron's going to do it, and I have a chance to beat Cameron, who's graduating and will no longer be able to compete. But Luke set out a goal, and he did it. And he did quite well. But the kids really prepared. And the amount of studying that went in is impressive. The knowledge that they gained in the books, is super impressive. If you sat in here, I taught one of the class and tried to answer the questions and still would struggle with some of them, comprehending where Marty went with those questions. But they did great. The kids, no problems, and really was a neat thing to watch yesterday. But as we get in, we'll go ahead and get into the lesson. Papa had no idea, and if you don't know who Papa is, to me, that's John Green, had no idea what I'd been thinking about for a lesson. And then he put the marquee sign out. I said, man, that really is exactly what kind of I've been thinking about, was that church is a hospital for sinners and not a museum for the saints. And when we come here, we're a buttoned up group. When I come to church, I am on my best behavior. I wear clothes that I don't wear the rest of the week. And I'm really a good person, and I'm mixed in with a lot of great people. And as I study these things and we read in the commandments, the greatest command is to love your God with all your heart. And the second one is to love your neighbor as yourself. And as we go and I walk into this church, man, it's easy to love this group in here. You are a bunch of people that are easy to love. And we can have a great time in here, but then I got to thinking, man, like they did with the Good Samaritan, who is my neighbor and who do I have to love? And what does it mean to love them? And I've got a group of friends outside of church that I don't know I want to invite to church because it worries me that they would come. What would they come? And then they would interrupt my great harmonious family right here. And what would the harmonious family think of me when I invite that person to come to church with me? And as we go to these things, and I will start off by saying, I know that's wrong. I know that mentality is wrong. I'm going to say that right now. But as you read into Luke chapter 7, and you read about the sinful woman, and you read about Jesus going into a house, and he is there at the request. I'm going to paraphrase this and just kind of imagine that he's gone into a church group, one of our life groups. He's attending a life group session with a group of Christians, and he is in there, and it's been set up. The meal has been prepared. The group of people, the friends that you've invited, have been selected carefully. And they are there to impress Jesus. And as Jesus comes in, a woman knows that Jesus is going to be there, and she's a sinful woman. Some references, she's a harlot. She's, one of the women that's just looked down upon. Well, she hears that Jesus is going to be there, and, in my ramblings of wondering, I don't know how she gets into the house, but she does. She shows up to the house, and she is bringing perfume, and she is going to sit down, and she starts washing Jesus' feet. And she's weeping because she knows her lifestyle. But she's weeping, washes Jesus' feet, washes them with her tears, and when she's done washing, she even puts perfume on his feet, and perfume, and all these types of things, and everyone's mumbling, as I can imagine. I like to put myself in a place I would be. Who is Jesus letting touch him? Who is Jesus? If he knew who this woman was, he would never let her do what she's doing. He would, I like to think, maybe he would rebuke her. He'd say, you're a harlot. Get away. Go straighten your life out. Then come back and touch my feet. But he doesn't. Jesus says, and the funny thing is they assume Jesus doesn't know who she is. Jesus does. And he allows the washing of his feet, and he tells them, she's doing more. Where did you prepare? When did you get down and wash my feet? Where was your servant attitude to come and help me? Here she is, weeping, washing my feet, something you didn't even imagine doing. And she is living a life and a faithful, she's got a faithfulness to her that Jesus even forgives her sins because he knows where she's at. He knows her heart. So, and as she goes and washes his feet, and Jesus forgives her, and he goes into who is going to be more appreciative of forgiveness. Is it someone who's a good person, who really doesn't have that much to give up? Or is it that person whose whole life is going to be turned upside down? And as we talked in class this morning in the teen class, kind of by a raise of hands, is how many of us were born and raised in the church? And I think all of us, if I remember right, we're born and raised. Our parents have brought us up in the church. And we just got to talking about what have we given up to be Christians? You know, what have we given? I haven't given up anything. I haven't changed anything. My parents raised me to live right. You know, there's some decisions I'm sure I've had to make, but I didn't turn my life upside down, you know, like some people have. And it gets back to my friends that I haven't invited to church. Told the teens about this guy, and he's one of my friends that actually attended church with me. And a lot of you probably would know him, and I've been advised not to use his name. But he attended church. He graduated from Greater Jacksonville Christian School, went to a Christian college, graduated a Christian college, did youth events with us, and all of a sudden, not all of a sudden, he was always kind of a troubled man, and he got out of church, started going in a whole nother direction. And we stay in contact, not very often, Facebook friends like a lot of people are, from a distance, but we'll communicate through there. But he is a friend, and I hate to say this, and this is another thing where it's confessional time, but he's a friend who I cannot let my daughter see the stuff he posts on Facebook. You know, but it's the way we stay in contact. But he has devolved to a person I don't really want to ask to come to church. One, I don't believe he would. I don't believe he would ever come back. But that's not my decision to make. And two, what if he did? What if he came with me? I mean, I'd have to sit with this guy in the judgment. But I will tell you, when I told the kids, I said, he really hit the trifecta of someone that would trouble you. But he is a gay bartender at a gentleman's club. Gentleman's club, that's a nice way to put it. That is his lifestyle now. He's living in that lifestyle, and I am so afraid to invite him to church. Because, what if he said yes? You know, and in those types of situations, and then I look at the Pharisees and I think, man, if he comes into my nice, neat, buttoned-up church family, he's going to disrupt me. You know, here I am. How am I going to handle this in this situation? How am I going to be a minister to him when I'm sitting here thinking, well, what's everybody else saying? And then I got to thinking, man, I don't have a lot of faith in my church family. You know, not only am I not showing faith in Jesus Christ, his ability to save, but I'm not showing a lot of faith in my church family. It's how they're going to react to this guy coming in and being with us. And then I also don't have a lot of faith that Jesus can heal, that Jesus can turn his heart in any way that he sees fit. We'll turn over and in 1 Corinthians 3, chapter 6 and 7, it says, it talks about Apollos. And I planted, Apollos watered, but God gave the increase. So then neither he who plants is anything, nor he who's water, but it's God who gives the increase. And, you know, sometimes we want the end result. That if I say something and he doesn't react, then I didn't do a good job. You know, if he didn't convert right then and change his ways, well, then I wasn't good enough. You know, I failed. And it talks about, Paul's talking about he watered. You know, he spread the seed, they watered, but it's God who gives the increase. But if we don't spread the seed, if we don't water, how are we allowing God to give the increase? You know, it's our job not to change them, but to show them how to change. To show enough love that we want that person to be saved. You know, and we got to talking in class about, you know, condemnation. And what an awful word that is, that you condemn someone. You know, that you look at someone and you say, man, you are so bad that you're going to hell. But what am I doing if I'm not inviting them to church? You know, I'm not saying those words, and I'm not judging you that you are going there. But if I'm not inviting you, you know, who else will? You know, have I condemned you to your existing life? Have I condemned my friend to live that life? And as we read in the adulterous woman, when she's brought forth and they want to stone her, you know, and he says, he without sin cast the first stone. And Jesus asks, where are those that condemn you? And she said, they're not here. He said, well, neither do I. You know, go and sin no more. You know, it's not our job to condemn or to judge someone's life, but it's our job to bring them to Christ. You know, to show them the way and let Jesus take over from that standpoint. There may be some things, there may be someone that you've thought about inviting, and I'd recommend not hesitating. I actually have thought about this, and as I prepared this lesson, I've wondered to this point, you haven't reached out to Tony and invited him. Oh man, I just said his name. Oh, I'm sorry, I made it through the whole thing. But Tony, if you know him, he used to attend here, and don't look him up on Facebook. But I still haven't reached out. Still have not reached out to the young man and asked him about his life and what his thoughts are and those types of things. But I'm hoping to get there for me and invite him and see what he says. More than likely, I really don't know what he would say. But there may be those that, and as we look at the church and we see a church as a buttoned up group of people, that is a good place to sit and be encouraged. It doesn't need to be only for that. Are we a welcoming place that invites sinners, where a person in that lifestyle could feel comfortable sitting and learning about Jesus? We always talk about love the sinner, not the sin. And, sometimes my mentality is I'll love the sinner when they give up the sin. Once they give up the sin, then we can really love that person. And, and their timetable may be different from mine. When I think they should be able to give it up, my background has been, grew up in the church. Really never had to make that sacrifice. Their background, whole different situation. But if we bring them here, God can work in that person's life like we can't. But we've got to get them here. There may be some of those, where this one isn't a lesson that's talked about becoming a Christian. But there may be some that are sitting out in the audience that have thought about becoming a Christian. And this is a time. There's no better time than to do it right now, than to put on your Lord in baptism and have that sureness of eternal life through Jesus Christ. There may be some that have struggled with anything, that may be sitting out and have struggled like my friends, my friend Tony that has struggled with things that just needs the prayer to be strengthened and to change and turn their life over. There's no better group here than to come forward and ask for the prayers of the church. You may just be hurting with anything. You may need encouragement. That's what the church family is here for, is to encourage you and help you in any way that we can. If you need those prayers, you'd like to put on your Lord in baptism, you can come forward now as we stand and sing.